Welcome. You're watching Inside Cottonwood. I'm your host today, Mayor Tim Alinsky, Mayor of Cottonwood. And with me today, I'm pleased to have Supervisor Thurman, Yavapai County Supervisor from District 2, and Supervisor Garrison from District 3.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Why is that name familiar, Garrison?
Yeah, I don't know. Been around a while.
Been around a while, huh? Today I wanted to talk, we'll talk broadly about many things going on in the county while we have you two here, but I wanted to speak specifically about the jail district and how we fund it moving forward. I know you have both gone on a tour, basically, of Yavapai County, given a talk about why it's important to support the continuation of this jail tax, but I wanted to hear it from both of you today, too.
Well, I can get started. Back in 1999, our jail in Prescott, which over on Gurley Street, was horribly overcrowded. Mm-hmm. The federal government, the states, judicial system, the ACLU, everybody was coming up to Yavapai County, and we were going to get sued, we were going to get fined, da-da-dee-da-da-da. And so at that time there was no jail district, and a jail district is no different than a lighting district or a sewer district or a water district. Mm-hmm. And so Supervisor Davis was on board at the time, and a couple others, and we had to do something. And typically everybody knew that we needed a new jail prior to that, but had a very hard time finding a location. Mm-hmm. Eventually the Faines and Grossettas and all them, they got together and we got some property out by Camp Verde. Well, so that property came to fruition as far as buying it, and we went to the public at that time and said, we have two choices. We either raise your property taxes, or we can create a sales tax, a quarter-cent sales tax, and create this improvement district, this jail district. And it overwhelmingly passed. I think it was 78% or something. And one of the reasons for that too, and as you as the mayor of Cottonwood knows, that if this jail district was extinguished or never existed, every time you arrested somebody and booked them in our jail, which it's a responsibility in the state for all counties to run the jail, you would pay, as a community or a town, you would have to pay us for the booking, for the health care, for the night in the room, or how many nights they stay, and it gets pricey. And so everybody got together and said, let's just go ahead and create the district. Mm-hmm. So it did pass, and it came into in 2000, and so now, just like any tax, and I think Randy is the same way, Supervisor Garrison is, I don't like permanent taxes for any reason. Mm-hmm. So they said 20 years, and it passed for 20 years, and now the 20 years is almost up. 2020 in June it'll be up. Mm-hmm. And so we want to continue this and not have to raise property taxes to continue to pay for our jail system. At the time, originally, we went out to bond and built the new jail in Camp Verde. And so it helped on paying that bond. Mm-hmm. That bond has been paid off, and so now the cost of doing business has gone through the roof, as it is for everybody. And you imagine 20 years ago. Right. And at the time also too, we had a lot of with the ICE folks, we were bringing in a lot of the illegals. They were using us as a holding cell, if you will. Mm-hmm. And we're not making money. Government can't make money, but we were doing okay. Uh-huh. And we have been so crowded on our own in the last 5-7 years that we can't take them anymore. Rarely do. Mm-hmm. And so at what 30 to 50 people are all sleeping on the floor at any given time. So we still have a need there, but in the meantime, this quarter-cent jail district tax that we have, that exists, it pays for about half the cost of running the jail. Okay. We are transporting over $1 million a year in costs back and forth to Prescott, when 2/3 of the crime is over in Prescott. But and then Supervisor Davis and I, a few years back, got together and got passed some funding for a new courtroom. Mm-hmm. by the jail, and so that solved some of the transportation problems. And we have video now, and it's working well. We don't like people sleeping on the floor. It creates about $9 million a year. It costs around $18 million a year to run just the jail district. Mm-hmm. As far as a whole, as far as property taxes and sales taxes, when you lump them all together, the criminal justice system runs this county about 50%, about half of all the money we take in goes to the criminal justice system.
Wow.
It's very pricey, and so you know, we've had babies in jail. We had one that had to get a leg amputated, which is around $900,000 today. So there's and we do a lot of programs. I mean, if you get arrested and you're in there, you have to pay for the time that you're in there. I think they're charging around $135 a day that you're in there, and anything else that you need on top of that. But most of the folks, I'll be honest with you, don't have any money, so we never, you and I as a taxpayer, never get reimbursed for that. But Randy can talk about some of the diversion programs that we're doing, that actually the whole state is looking at this county and saying, how are you doing that? And that's with the recidivism rate and that. Randy, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so one of the problems, we go out and we've been out in the communities. If we can find two people standing on the side of the road, we stop and give them a talk. We're trying to reach everybody we can to explain exactly what the district is. And one of the misconceptions is everybody thinks that we're out looking for money to buy or build a new jail or take care of a jail. This is a district. It's much broader than the room that you put a person in for the night. And so we have 11 different programs that the district is able to provide. We provide education in jail. If you come into jail without a GED or a diploma, you can leave jail with a GED. We provide medical care to an extreme sometimes, but we provide that. We have a co-pay system that actually helps put money back into the jail system. So we provide three hots and a cot. If you want better meal than what we provide you, there's means for a customer to be able to purchase more food or a different food than what they were given. And the profits that come from those sales go right back into the running the jail. So they actually help benefit the district. The district costs, as Supervisor Thurman was saying, the jail district costs us, the county, about just shy of $19 million a year. This tax brings in about 8 of that. We have what's called the maintenance of effort, so we have to match whatever the tax builds and put that into the system, which brings it up to about 16, which means we're now dipping into the general fund about $2 million a year. Our budget at the end of the year, when we vote on it here coming up in May, June, will be around $98 million. $2 million's a lot to be dipping in. If we lose this district tax, the district will go away and it will cease to exist. We're going to have to not only pay the $10 million out of our budget, the $8 million for maintenance effort, and the $2 million that we're adding into that, but we're also going to have to pick up the other $8 million. Part of the way we're going to end up picking up that other $8 million is, as Supervisor Thurman said, is we're going to have to start charging every entity that brings an inmate in, and that runs about $350 to book them and about $140 a night. Since we're in the Verde Valley, talk about the Verde Valley, the combined cost for Sedona, Cottonwood, and Camp Verde will be about $1 million a year. That'll mean you, as Cottonwood and Camp Verde and Sedona, are going to have to go out and figure out whether you're going to raise your property taxes or you're going to, and Cottonwood doesn't have a property tax, so you'll probably rely on adding in a sales tax that will pay your portion. So they're not only going to get hit from our end, because we're going to have to raise property taxes because we don't have the room in our budget to eat this, and then the cities and entities will have to do the same thing. So it's going to be double exposure to this debt problem. So that's one of the things I really want to get across when we go out and talk about this. As an extension of what you're already paying, it's a use tax. About 17 to 20% of the money that we collect on this tax comes from entities and people outside of the county. So visitors that come up and spend money on our restaurants, our stores, our hotels are paying in to this jail as well. So we're letting the entire area that uses our county pay for this facility. That's a direct benefit to the residents here.
And it almost mirrors the amount of money that we collect from out-of-towners is about the same percentage is how many we have that are incarcerated.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's depending on what study, NAU did a study a while back and said it was anywhere from 14 to 17% of the sales tax that we collect in Yavapai County as a whole comes from out of county residents, and right now the the jail is running around 15 to 20% for out-of-county residents. And so,
one thing that worries me is, as mayor, is that if this continuation of this jail tax doesn't go through, that a lot of the good programs that we do have in place that we've built over the last couple decades will be lost. So Cottonwood alone can't foot the bill for some of the diversionary programs that we put in place, and to reduce recidivism, which is really at the end of the day how we succeed.
That really is it. We're the district, like I said, is much more than a bed.
Mm-hmm.
It is all these programs, and part of those programs are funded by grants and federal or state grants, but if the district goes away, so does the entity that applies for those grants. Sure. And there's no way the cities or the towns will be able to pick up that burden. Mm-hmm. So we're going to lose probably not all 11 of these programs, but we're going to lose the vast majority of them, and the ones that are left are going to be very much curtailed.
Sure.
And Spectrum here, healthcare here in Verde, does most of our mental health. Mm-hmm. We've created this, one of the diversion plans is, if you went to Circle K and some guy's standing there talking on the wall, or he's yelling obscenities or something, of course you call 911 and somebody comes. And we always arrested him. Well, now what we're doing is we're actually looking at that situation. Is this person really done a crime? Mm-hmm. Or are they mentally off and they need some help? And if they do have mental issues, they actually go to there, not to our jail. Right. And we've been able to offset over 700 people since that program started. Mm-hmm. And that's the one I was alluding to earlier that the whole state is looking at, because our recidivism rate was in the 50s to 60 percentile. It has now dropped to the 15 to 20%.
No kidding.
Percentile. And so it works. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've got to do, because not everybody has done a crime. Not a lot of crimes. If you got a drug habit and you broke into somebody's house or you stole their car, you need to do time for that crime. Mm-hmm. But in the old days, I used to say they were thrown in jail just to dry them out. Right. In the alcohol days. But today these drugs, there is no I'm back to halfway normal. Mm-hmm. After I've came down off the alcohol. It's messed with my brain, LSD and crystal meth and all that. And I can tell you, in the construction business that I had for over 25 years, if we had an alcohol problem or a pot problem, we could typically work through it. But when LSD came back and heroin and crystal meth and cocaine got really popular, it got to the point to where they didn't care about their job, they didn't care about their family, their kids, nothing. Mm-hmm. All they cared about is going to get high again. Mm-hmm. And it messes with their brains, and it's unfortunate. So now we have programs that we're working to try to help these folks. Right. And with some of the access programs too, now there's some funding available that when they get out of jail. The way it used to be is they'd get out of jail, we'd dry them out, if you will, and then they go right back to it, mm-hmm. and back to the drugs and everything, because they weren't getting any help afterwards. Not now. They're getting help day by day. Yeah. And so that really makes a difference.
Well, that's good. I hate to interrupt the two of you, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation. Thanks.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
Welcome back. You are watching Inside Cottonwood. I'm your host today, Mayor Tim Alinsky, Mayor of Cottonwood. And with me, we have, I'll start with Supervisor Garrison so as not to show favoritism. District 3 County Supervisor and District 2 County Supervisor Thurman is with us today.
I'm the old guy.
We were speaking about the importance of continuing the jail tax, which will be on the ballot here shortly. And when we left off, we were talking about recidivism. I kind of want to wrap up that conversation if we could.
Sure. The average state recidivism is around 60%.
Okay.
We've got it down to 15 to 20, sometimes a little bit more. That is phenomenal. And as I alluded to earlier, the state, other counties are looking at us now saying, how are you doing this? And I'll say one thing, I got a big head for Yavapai County, but we've done a lot of programs in this county through the years that other counties have mirrored. And we're very proud of that. We all think out of the box. And we've kept taxes down as low as we can. We've hardly raised property taxes in years. And so we've done everything we can, but this is a real problem. This you know, and we're a county the size of New Jersey.
Right. With
the population of about 235,000 right now, and we hold 500 basically because of classifications. Randy, you want to explain what classifications are?
Well, so the jail was built originally for a population of 515, 550, 540, 550, but with the classification that brought the usable number of beds down to about 515, and what that is you can't have men with women, you can't have high risk with low risk, so you have to separate out the populations. You can't have gang member X with gang member Y, so you have to do a lot of compartmentalizing of the population that sits in our jails overnight. So you build it for one number, it obviously is capable of providing a lot less space. The problem is we've been sitting for at least a couple of years now well over 600.
Oh, wow.
And so we have, as Supervisor Thurman said, we have a lot of people sleeping in a boat, they call it, that sits on the floor of a jail, because you can't have them on the floor. They have to have a bed. And so we have some cells that are overcrowded, and we have some cells that aren't necessarily as bad. But overall, the system really isn't built for taking them more on. So the sheriff has been awesome in going out and creating these programs and these other tools to really not only keep the population that's in there, get them to the services so they can stay out, but also figure out ways not to get them in jail in the first place. And as Supervisor Thurman was saying, one of the partnerships we have in the Prescott area, we have West Yavapai Guidance Clinic, and the East Yavapai we have Summit Healthcare. We have Summit Healthcare has a mobile response unit. That mobile response unit last year was called out 1,400 times to the scene of an incident. Like Supervisor Thurman was saying, if all of a sudden our patrol officers or Cottonwood or Sedona or any of the patrols come up on a person they deem to be not necessarily fit or having an issue, whether it's on drugs that they're not supposed to be on or not being on drugs they are supposed to be on. That's also becoming a big problem because we have a huge behavioral health problem as well as a mental health problem in this county. So they're identified. The mobile crisis unit is brought in. They look at them and they determine whether they need to go to jail and be dealt with, that there's nothing they can do, or they figure out a strategy to move them into another facility or another program that will remove them from the jail population. Of that 1,400 last year, just in the Verde alone, 7 people went to jail. Wow. That's a huge portion of this recidivism. Is if we keep them out in jail in the first place, hopefully they don't ever come back. Right. And also we're getting them in touch with those programs. One of those is we have a pretrial release and a diversion program. So we're able now to also keep people out of jail that shouldn't be there. Nobody wants to put anybody in jail, and it costs the taxpayer a fortune to put them in there, even if it's for one night. You're up to $500 just for your first day. Right. So the more people we can keep out of the jail, the less we have to deal with that issue, the less their day-to-day life is disrupted, and the less likely they are to go back and recreate the problem that put them there in the first place, or at least created the interaction. One of the other programs I wanted to kind of get into real quick is Yavapai County has a very high, when it comes to the entire state, we have a very high suicide rate. And a large portion of our suicides is our veterans. So one of the things that was created over the last year and a half is a veterans court. I think we put it into place about this time last year, but the process was started before I got on. So we now have a veterans court. If you brought into the system, if you're identified in your original interaction with our enforcement officers as a veteran, you now move out of the regular system. You're brought into a veterans court system because a lot of times it's an issue of the people are having problems because they can't find the resources they need to be able to deal with their day-to-day life. So this veterans court was a way to actually identify them, get them into those programs much earlier so that they can now start to be productive and lead a more less problematic path. So that's a big part of it, and it's dropped our veteran suicide rate has dropped, and which is ultimately dropping our county suicide rate, but it's a problem. So, you know, people keep, I'll keep going back to that, people keep thinking the jail tax is just a bed and the jail's just full of pot smokers. That is absolutely not the case. This jail is a district, and it provides a lot of services that don't only help you when you're in there, but it provides those services to help either keep you out or put you on a better path when you leave.
It seems like those 11 programs are the reason why our recidivism rate has dropped so much. So to lose those would be disastrous.
Well, and then the Veterans Court, we have a connectivity immediately with the VA. And so that helps a lot with that situation. And as Randy alluded to a second ago, is that this misnomer of that we have the jail is half full of pot smokers. That is, there in misdemeanors is anywhere between 4 and 7% in our jail are misdemeanors. That means the bulk are felonies. And so those people need to be there. I mean, it's still if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. So we don't want to lessen up on that. And I look at it too, as far as economic development goes. If this doesn't pass, and we have to look at ways that we may be cutting other county services, we might have to reduce. You know, some of the communities, like the towns, wouldn't be arresting now like they should be because they don't have the money to do the booking and the incarceration. And that eventually could get around too, that Yavapai County is getting that way. It'll bring more people in here of ones that we don't want. And that hurts economic development. It hurts home sales. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, the nice part about this tax when it passed, it took the burden of dealing with that element off of the cities and towns, put it over to the county where it could be dealt with in a more holistic manner, and it took the burden of a police department and a town council deciding at the end of the day what's a crime and what isn't. The last thing you want is you want your police force or your city council to be making a determination on what's a crime. You want to leave that to your law enforcement officers. So this program really has gone a great way to making it just so much more efficient and much more friendly for everybody involved. And at the end of the day, it's a great benefit to the taxpayer. This is a 1/4 cent tax. So a $4 purchase, if you go buy a nice coffee, it costs you 1 penny is what you put into the jail, versus this all being loaded on top of your property tax.
Just to be clear, we're already paying that tax currently.
You're already paying it now. It's just an extension of an existing tax. It doesn't go up. It doesn't change. It just continues the existing programs that we have now. And if this tax is not approved, the district will dissolve and these programs will go away, and then we'll have to figure out how to fund what's left.
Now again, we have to take one break. I want to leave a little bit of time left at the end for you guys to talk about what's going on in both your districts. So we'll take a quick 1-minute break, and please join us again.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
All right, welcome back. You are watching Inside Cottonwood, and I'm your host, Mayor of Cottonwood. My name is Tim Alinsky. We've got two county supervisors with us, County Supervisor Thurman and County Supervisor Garrison. And we were talking about the jail tax and the importance of continuing to pay that quarter-cent sales tax for the jail district. But I want to leave a little bit of time left for both of you to speak about something going on in your district. Let's start with you, Supervisor Thurman.
Okay, just a reminder, this is a May 15th mail-in ballot only, and so it'll be coming out 30 days prior. And so when you get it in there, please vote yes if you can. Okay. As far as things in the southern part of the Verde Valley, we're looking at, Supervisor Garrison and I are joining forces, and we're wanting this Beaverhead Flat extension. Mm-hmm. And that's that road, if you're not familiar with it from around here, that goes between basically the village of Oak Creek on 179 over to Cornville Road. Mm-hmm. It's well used. And with the road situation, the growth that's happening in the Verde Valley, we're starting to get some bottlenecks here and there, mm-hmm. and starting what in the engineers call queuing. And so we came to our Public Works Department, our road department, and said we need to look at this Beaverhead Flat extension. Supervisor Davis and I had talked about this a long time ago, and Randy got on board and really has been pushing, and I appreciate that. And we would, one leg was from there, from Cornville Road, mm-hmm. over to Middle Verde. Okay. And then we're working possibly with the tribes and, of course, the National Forest, both of them, Prescott and Coconino, and put a bridge, one bridge in over the Verde River, mm-hmm. somewhere down there towards, probably by either Cherry Road or out of Africa. So one of the new roundabouts going in. Yeah. And of course the cost of a bridge today is astronomical. Mm-hmm. But it would be the only other bridge that really between Cottonwood and Camp Verde. Right. Over the Verde, and we have the Black Canyon Recreational Sheep's Driveway Trail we need, mm-hmm. access for those folks and bicyclists. Unfortunately, a lot of the smaller roads in Yavapai County in the Verde are very narrow. They're not bike friendly. Mm-hmm. We put warnings out everywhere, and but we've had fatalities, and it's not good. Right. And so any new roads that we put in, we're always making sure if we got right of way, we're going to have at least 3 foot of separation for the bicyclists. Good. And this is something that's probably going to be in the, I don't know, $35 million range. Yeah. The county doesn't have that kind of money, so we're working again with the tribe and getting grant funds and doing things like that to get that in. That'll also help folks in Cottonwood. Right. And Clarkdale heading that way, because there are times, and then accidents too. You know, the fire department is when there's an accident on one of these roads, as you can see right now, as the work on 260, Cornville Road is doubled in traffic, mm-hmm. or tripled at times. Well, if there's an accident somewhere too, it just becomes a real safety concern. So, sure. So this is another one of those that we can get through. Yeah, this traffic is an issue in the Verde Valley, period. Mm-hmm. There's only so many places because of topography to put roads, and there's been numerous studies done. The last study that came out of ADOT in 2016 listed and identified not only how to deal with the traffic situation or trying to deal with the traffic situation we have today, but looking forward to 2040 mm-hmm. and where the populations exist now versus where they'll be then, and how that population is going to have to move around to get to the resources. And so this road was listed as one of the primary routes that could be enhanced to cure some of these situations. As Supervisor Thurman said, from I-17 to Bridgeport, that's about an 18-mile stretch of river that has no other crossing. Mm-hmm. If you have to get in and out of Middle Verde, you have to use your access as I-17. Right. That's not the most efficient way to get to the hospital at the end of the day. So, and get to your emergency services. So we really have to figure out a way to improve that. Right. And I really believe, and the reason that I've been pushing for it, and Supervisor Thurman had been pushing for it along with Chip, was we got to figure out how to
correct some of the problems we have, and this creates another spoke in the wheel. It really helps start moving the traffic around, not just between Cornville Road and 260, but it'll affect the Upper Verde, it'll affect the village of Oak Creek, it'll affect Sedona. It really allows that traffic to start moving in many different directions, which will take some of that burden off of places like 260 and 89A down here at Black Bear Diner all the way out to Prairie, you know, and Hayfield Draw area. So this will just be another tool. And as Supervisor Thurman said, this is going to be a very expensive proposition. We're going to have to go out and find partners to help fund this thing. But it's also going to be a very lengthy process, and if we want to get it done in the next 8 years, we got to start now. So we've been actually working on it for a year. We funded it in December for $1.1 million. We put into the study to be done to come up with the corridor and look at all the issues with access and archaeological and environmental and those issues to start to try and identify this corridor. And we expect that process to last for about another 14 months. So hopefully before the summer of next year, we'll actually have some definitive answers on what we're looking to do. We'll be starting public outreach. We had a meeting this morning. We'll be starting public outreach probably in another 2 months. So the public will have a chance to see what's being looked at and weigh in on what their concerns are. And as Supervisor Thurman said, this is a multimodal path. We're looking at, it's going to be horse friendly, it's going to be mountain bike, road bike, hiker friendly. We're really looking at creating, it's such a vital area, and there's so many accesses to resources in that area that we really have to make it more than just cars. It needs to be part of our entire transportation and recreational system. So it's really going to be important for the community and the entire Verde Valley. It may be in Camp Verde, but it will affect the entire Verde Valley. One of the other projects we're moving forward with right now is we started having negotiations with Cottonwood, and we'll be lining up those talks with the Forest Service as well to start moving forward at Ogden Ranch Road from 260 to Old 279, which will also be another way of taking some of that traffic and some of that burden and congestion off of 260 from Prairie Lane all the way back into Black Bear Diner 89A. Because if you're out in the Quail Springs area, you have to go all the way back into Cottonwood in order to go out to 260 and then all the way back out again. So anything we can start doing to figure out how to move people around more efficiently and take advantage of the roadways that are there, whether they were social or old roads, we're really going to have to attack that and figure out how to bring those resources to bear and start creating solutions. So,
and for those folks that run the river or just go out for a picnic out in Beasley Flats, the 10 miles south of Camp Verde, it goes right before you get to the Forest Service area there that has all of the picnic area and a river access point. There is a private community that you drive through, and the road through that is horrible. And I've been working with Prescott National Forest on right-of-way, and we've got that perfected. And so we have flood control project going in. There's one area there that the culverts were washed out, and the culverts weren't necessarily put in correctly in the past anyway. And so that's all going to be fixed. They're going to do a low water crossing. Once that flood control project is done, which I'm hoping to be done in another 6-8 months, then the Prescott National Forest has agreed to come in and blade and fix the rest of the road. Oh, great. So it'll be a lot better for those folks going down the Beasley Flats.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, we're out of time, my friends.
Oh.
Well, thank you once again for allowing us the opportunity to come in here and talk to your public.
Again, the dates on this.
May 15th.
Okay. Ballots will be coming out here in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
So look
30 days prior.
Okay. Yeah. Mark it when you get it. Put it back in the mail. If you're unsure about marking it yes, please reach out and let us know. We'd do anything we can to answer your questions, make you feel comfortable with what we're doing. I think it's a really great program.
And if you want us to speak at any of you, if you're a Rotary Club or something that hasn't heard of this, and we've done over 70 meetings so far, but if you'd like one of us to speak at, feel free to call either one of us. And
great. Certainly taught me a lot today speaking with both of you, so I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's all we have. So thanks for joining us today on Inside Cottonwood, and hope to see you again next month. Take care.